Hello. Welcome. My name is Angelica. I'm your host and content creator for Ugly Truths podcast. And today, sorry, my throat's a little bit scratchy. But today, I just wanted to touch on something. It's going to be a little bit different, and that something is reparenting yourself. Basically, at some point, you realize that a lot of reactions that you have to certain things are tied into a trigger. And a trigger is something that has happened within an experience of your, previous engagement with others, whether you were a child, teen, wherever it was before today. And it's something that you want to prevent happening again because it brought up, big and overwhelming feelings. And when I mean big and overwhelming feelings, I mean feelings that you don't know how to regulate. That can be anger, that could be sadness, that could be shame, that could be regret. It's so many emotions that we should have figured out how to differentiate between. But at the time, we did not have the tools, the knowledge, or, we didn't have parents that knew what it was. Oftentimes, your emotions have to be repressed. Oftentimes, when you question something, it was don't talk back. And now you're sitting here confused and angry because, for one, you're not feeling heard. And for two, you're following things blindly. So triggers can happen from anything, not just, parents, but also like experiences within your childhood friend group. Let's say, I don't know, somebody said a secret behind your back and about you. And from then on, you kind of had trust issues. So now, if you hear somebody whispering or, kind of look at you funny, the first thing you think is, what are they thinking about me? That's a trigger. And majority of these things, in my opinion, do need to be healed because things happen to everyone. Life happens to everyone. But your reaction is what differentiates you between what's happening. You getting back up, swing again, how you cope with it, how you deal with it. Is this going to knock you down for a while? Are you going to have to sit here and cope? Are you going to go downward spiraling? What's going to happen when you get triggered again? So, first thing I want to explain, reparenting is basically learning your triggers, your wounds, all that terrible stuff that has happened to you. And after you learn what it is, you walk yourself through it as if you were a child. Because one other thing that I noticed is that a lot of us are unhealed children in adult bodies. So we do have to sit here and think about the things that have affected us the most that we don't want to bring up again because of those big emotions. But I believe once we realize that it's normal and that it's okay to be vulnerable with yourself, at least. That's the very least you can do, is be vulnerable with yourself. Then you allow yourself to be seen and heard, and now you're validating your own experiences that you've had with other people. And from there, you can go on and learn how to kind of regulate things, see it for what it was, feel the emotions. And after you feel the emotions, you go on and learn how you would like to deal with that from now on. And a lot of these things require you to kind of open your mind up a little bit because you can't kind of be closed-minded and expect this to work. Because we kind of evaluate things off of our perception and our experiences, and sometimes it's very limited. We've only allowed ourselves to be around certain type of people, or a certain type of people, because we were more comfortable with that. But today I'm going to challenge you to open up your mind a little bit and interact with something a little bit different. Now, I'm going to be very vulnerable with you all and discuss one of my triggers. And I have a few. I'm not going to lie to you. I have a few. But this one is one I most recently found out about. And that trigger is basically a fear of abandonment. And that is a big issue for me because it leads to so many things like people pleasing, codependency, which is basically, you living off of somebody else's life story. You living off of their approval, their validation. And that's no way for anyone to live, because at that point, what am I here for? So my fear of abandonment came from when I was younger. A few incidents where I felt as though I had no one, and I hated that feeling. So you kind of make up that little gap by doing whatever it is that you think would gain that person's approval. And that brings in the people pleasing and the codependency all in one right there. So let's say, this is just a scenario, it's not real, but let's say if I needed my mother at a time and she was not able to be there. She had other priorities. And that usually is what happens with people who are codependent, who do have fear of abandonment. Usually the parent may have other obligations, or, they're just not able to be there for you. And it leaves a feeling of neglect. So let's just say if my mother was to leave me at a time that I really needed her, that would enact the fear of abandonment. Now, from there, it'll show up in your adult relationships as either a person that has an avoidant attachment style, or an anxious attachment style. And I know I'm kind of loading y'all up on these things today. And I'm going to go more in depth on these one day. There's 3 types of styles that a person can be. Secured, which is you're securing the person. If a person doesn't text you back in 2 to 3 hours, you're not going to sit here and stare at your phone, or you're not going to be like, it doesn't matter, I have other people anyways, I'm going to text them instead. Try to get rid of that feeling of neglect that you're really honestly feeling. They're secured. They're okay. They understand, okay, this person is busy. They'll reach out to me when they have time. And that comes from a healed mindset. Then you have anxious, which I used to identify with, as I was a person that would always constantly check my phone to see if somebody texted me back. If I called and they didn't answer, I felt neglected. I felt rejected. And that would kind of lead me into maybe running them off, because you're sitting here messaging them over and over and over, not giving them their space that they need to breathe. So not letting them be their individual selves because you're so wrapped up in them, So that's one. And then there's the fearful avoidant. And the one thing that I learned is that fearful avoidant and anxious attachment styles are one of the same, because it's all rooted in the same thing. And that is fear of not being enough, fear of being abandoned. So the only difference is anxious is going to be on you about it. Fearful is more so going to be like, it is what it is. I'm moving on, even though you really don't want to. There are some unresolved feelings that you're not allowing yourself to feel, because you want to seem as though you have it all together. You want to seem as though, you're not upset, even though you very much are. You don't want to deal with the emotions that come with what you're feeling. So you brush it off and try to move on as best as you can, and still be feeling some type of way about this person not texting you back. So there's going to be a lot of resentment in there too. But those are the 3 types of styles. And, usually if you're codependent, you're going to mostly identify with the anxious attachment. And that has a line of triggers in its own. But like I said, I'll get back to that another day, but because that is important, especially with our 20s and 30s. Heck, even the teens, late teens, it shows up a lot. So back to the original thing, though. So basically, allowing yourself to deal with big emotions, first of all, solidifies that you're allowing yourself to be seen by you. How many times we're talking to our friends and they're responding, but they're not engaging. They're not actively listening, and you feel unheard and you just stop talking. You're like, oh, I'm not going to say anything anymore. You're not just going to sit there and talk for yourself. You want somebody to engage with you. So rather than waiting for somebody else to validate how you're feeling, rather than waiting for somebody else to say, you did a good job here, or rather waiting for somebody else to respond to your actions, you have to become that person. You have to have that healed version of you, or where you would like to be at mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Come out and protect that inner wounded child that was not heard, that was not seen, that was not understood. But to do that, you have to sit with your emotions. Now, usually when people get triggered, they feel anger, disrespected, but that's not usually the first emotion. Anger is actually a secondary emotion. And I love saying that because it really resonates with me personally, because I realize, anger is there. Most of the time that you're angry, you have a reason to be angry. You're being triggered. However, the first emotion is usually sadness. It's hurt. Most of the time, it's going to be hurt. There's also shame, guilt, all that other stuff, but usually it's going to stem from hurt. This person didn't text me back. You are now hurt. You are now feeling like you are not good enough. You are now feeling like you don't think that person wants you. You are now feeling neglected. The same emotions that you have felt that are all too familiar to you. And it is uncomfortable. It really is. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Just even thinking about that emotion, it almost makes me want to cry, because I'm like, oh my God, it feels god awful. And it does. It really does. That's understandable. But the thing is, you have to feel those emotions. Some things you can't run from. Some things you can't hide from. If some things are never truly dealt with, you're going to be in the same area that you're in, and that is emotionally immature. I'm not sure if it's mature or mature, but the bougie side of me wants to say mature. So that's what we're going with today. You have to become emotionally mature to deal with these triggers. You have to be accepting of yourself. Understand that the way you feel is very much so validated. It is okay for you to feel what you're feeling. As I always tell y'all, I will never tell you anything that I haven't been through or currently going through myself. Never will I ever. So when I sit here and think about the situations that affected me the most, and it happens in literally the heat of the moment when you're getting triggered, you have to be okay with letting yourself regulate your emotions. I will never say control your emotions, because that has a sense of, oh, you're acting out, or, oh, you're not acting accordingly, how you should be responding, whatever that may be. I hate that. I like to say regulating your emotions, because although you are allowed to feel what you're feeling, that does not mean it's a green light for any response that you have off of that emotion. Absolutely not. You can't sit here and punch somebody because they disrespected you. No. Because most of the time when people do things, it's not even you. You're going to realize that one day. But most of the time people react to things or do things, it's not because of you. It's not. It's going to be because of their past experiences and how they've interacted and had experiences in the past and how it, affected them. So that's one of the things I kind of had to learn myself, because I would, as a recovering people pleaser, you will realize that basically you're going to sit here and blame yourself for a lot of things that people act, or how people act towards you. And that right there is an absolute no. No, stop taking that responsibility. Of course, unless you have done something, you have to also be able to be self-aware and reflect. I'm sorry if y'all hear this in the background. That's actually my washing machine going crazy right now. My apologies. But, yeah, so you definitely have to be able to be self-aware and understand where you may have went wrong in the situation, but also realize that the way people react speaks on their character. And that includes you. You're not, not avoided, but you're not too good to be taking accountability for how you react to things or how you may have incited certain things. So, as I said before, that's definitely one of the things I recently learned. But within that, the people-pleasing tendencies, you have to realize with people-pleasing, like you're looking for that validation, that external feeling that you didn't get from the people that were supposed to give it to you, which is your parents. So, like I said before, with people pleasing, you have to learn how to trust yourself. You have to learn what you want. You have to become self-aware. You have to pick up the ball where the people that were supposed to guide you dropped it. That is the whole thing about reparenting. And as I said before, it is very uncomfortable because you're going to have big emotions that you were never taught how to deal with or that you had to repress. And those two things are both terrible. I absolutely don't like it. And the thing I don't like about it is that many people don't tell you that the self-healing journey is not all rainbows. It's not, oh, make sure you take care of your outer appearance. No, the inside needs to be just as kept up as the outer appearance, So one of those things is learning to reparent yourself. One of those things is learning to trust yourself. One of those things is validating yourself, no matter what anybody else says. Because in your story, you are the main character. You're not secondary to anyone. You're the main character. So to fully engage with that, you have to know the main character like the back of your hands. You have to learn your triggers like it is the back of your hand, for real. You have to be comfortable with your demons. If you know you have a problem with something, okay, I have a problem with this. This is why I have a problem with this. I have a problem with that. This is why I have a problem with that. And I believe that's really that's how a lot of situations happen in relationships. A lot of people have unhealed trauma. They have unhealed wounds or triggers that the other person is triggering. And I'm learning now that one person has to be either healing or coming from a healed state of mind to help somebody that is not there yet. You have to have patience. You have to have, I would really say love for that person, because it is very stressful. And you're going to be questioning yourself. And it's like, you not just relationships, but any type of ship, parentship. Friendship, all that stuff. You have to be patient with them. And you deserve to have patience for yourself as well as you are going through this healing journey. Understand that and own that. But as you start healing, you're going to realize where a lot of people have their unhealed wounds from. You're going to say, okay, this is what that is. And you're going to be able to detach yourself from the ideology that this is your fault as a recovering people pleaser. You're going to say, that does not belong to me. I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to take that energy or that spirit from you. People are here acting crazy, talking to you crazy, about to fight you in the mall. I'm not finna fight you, ma'am. You're going to jail, okay? Because you don't have to sit here and physically assault someone to get your point across. It's okay for you to be the bigger person, because it's a lot more peace that comes within that. It's a lot more peace than realizing that you don't have to one-up people. It's a lot more peace than realizing that you don't have to get revenge every time. Because most people that act out in those manners are coming from an unhealed state of mind. And I really hate for that person to be you. Because the girls that get it, get it. And the girls that don't. Please forgive me my TikTok references, but that's the honest truth. You either get it or you don't, or you're on your way there to getting it. So going back to the original, a lot of triggers have those emotions that come behind them, such as shame, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I was so stupid. Why did I do that? Woo, woo, woo. Give yourself space to make mistakes. That's another form of reparenting yourself, realizing that it's okay for you to make mistakes and you're still able to trust yourself after you make a mistake. But don't keep making mistakes and be like, oh, it's okay. See the problem, identify it, fix it. You can't just sit there and be like, oh, that's a problem. But, it is what it is. It ain't what it ain't. Fix it. Work on it. You have the means and the motive to do so now because you want to be a better person. Because I want to be a better person. You have to hold yourself accountable. Another form of reparenting. Being there for yourself, but also holding yourself accountable. You can't sit here and say, oh, I want to lose this much pounds, and you don't hold yourself accountable to what you're eating, to how much you're exercising. Accountability, self-discipline. You have to instill all those within yourself, all those values, all those morals. You have to instill that within you if it's not already there. And it does take a lot of time. It does take patience. It does take hard work, and it does take dedication. But understand that you are worth it. And don't be so focused on getting to your official healed self, because you're going to be healing for the rest of your life. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, Well, you can count me out. You can count me out because ain't nobody signed up for this. I didn't. But at the same time, you can't sit here and blame everybody else for where you are right now in life emotionally. You can't do that anymore. This is me holding you accountable. Your story is terrible. I'm sorry that happened to you. I validate that story for you. If you're still looking for that external validation, that should have not happened to you. But now it has. So as we continue to go through and realize that it shouldn't have happened, let's feel those emotions. Let's feel that pain. Let's feel that anger. If you are a person that needs to exert that anger somewhere, take up a boxing class. Go for a run. Do whatever you do to ease that anger, but do not cope with it. Do not try to run from it. Feel it. And it is going to be the most earth-shattering feeling. And you're going to look around like, oh my God, am I the only one going through this? Like, why is no one here to help me? You have to sit with yourself in your pain so you will know how to navigate through it after you're done feeling what you're feeling. You're familiar with it now. It's like one of those things that we don't want to face because it feels terrible. It feels terrible. And a lot of us do have self-doubt that we just can't get through it or we won't be okay. And the thing is that nobody says is that you're going to be just fine. It's like throwing a baby out in a controlled pool. A lot of parents are like, oh no, I can never do that. My child's going to drown. But we see those babies finding their way and learning how to swim. This is what that is. It's going to be uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie to you. It is going to be very uncomfortable. But as long as I'm telling you the truth of what you're actually going to be feeling, you will never be guided wrong. Because I've been through this myself. And I understand that may not mean a lot to a lot of people. And that's okay. That's fine. But I'm not looking for validation. I'm looking to help those in need of help, in need of wanting to take control of their own lives and move forward to the next step of becoming their best selves and becoming attached to their higher selves. To who God called them to be or whoever the higher power that you believe in. That's my purpose. That's what I'm giving out this message for. So as you grow, you're going to realize that something that you don't want to deal with or have to go through, you're going to have to go through because on the other side is your higher self. You're going to have to get rid of those triggers. You're going to have to get rid of those wounds. You're going to learn how to deal with those triggers. Not necessarily get rid of them because if something bothers you, it bothers you for a reason. And it may be within good reason. It may be to protect yourself. That is perfectly fine. Nobody's saying to get rid of that. But I'm saying that you have to sit with it. You can no longer hide from it or just sit here and take that on to your partner. You can't. Another example, I've dealt with this a few years back, and it was very interesting. And I realized that, I shouldn't have had to deal with that. But basically the situation where I got lashed out on by an ex of mine because of something that his ex-girlfriend did in the past and did it to where it hurt him. Now me, I wasn't going in that direction whatsoever. In fact, I was doing something very much so opposite, but I received the backlash for it because that was a trigger for him. And it's very hard for people to articulate some of their triggers if they don't even know what it is. It is very hard. It's okay to introduce the idea to them like, hey, do you think that this may have been a problem because this has happened to you? Or do you think that, you can kind of give me a little bit of leeway because I didn't create that baggage. I didn't create that wound. I didn't create that trigger. I'm not this person, solidifying that for other people. For those in relationships, you have to understand what I'm talking about. Like, it is something that your partner has been through. Let's say the biggest one right now in our generation is trust issues. People have been cheated on. At this point, a lot of women are thinking there is not a man out here that's not going to cheat. And men may think the same thing. It's not a woman out here that's not going to cheat. But the thing is, first of all, let me address that right now. Let go of that control of that other person because you can't control somebody into not cheating on you. That's like having a strict parent expecting that child not to be wild. That child's going to want a taste of freedom. It's going to want a taste of rebellion because that rebellious spirit is in them from having to be so restricted from things for so long. The same thing happens in relationships. That person is going to be feeling restricted. They can't be themselves. They can't do certain things because something has happened to you, because somebody stepped on you. That's not that person's problem. They didn't do that to you. So please do not punish somebody for what somebody else did. Do not make them carry that baggage, that pain, that hurt. Don't. because they're going to resent you for it. Even if they don't say it right now, they're going to resent you for it because they know they don't deserve that. So within relationships, please understand, if you are with somebody that is not healed, or you are with somebody that is healing, or they are healed, and you may be thinking, oh my God, I can't do this, or, oh my gosh, this is just too much for me, or whatever. Understand that we have to start from somewhere. Within your friendships, we have to start from somewhere. And that first thing is acknowledging, creating a safe space, whether it's for you or whether it's for the other person. You have to create that safe space for that person to feel safe, for even you to feel safe. And if you don't have a safe space, or you don't have one for yourself or for somebody else, create one, because we all need one. This world can use a little bit of compassion. It can. And you're not going to die from giving somebody else compassion. Unless you're in the, less fortunate parts of the world, you might just die. But let's not say that. Let's use our intuition. But being able to go ahead and, allow yourself to have a safe space within you. Allow yourself to find that peace within you. You're going to realize how many people are going to be drawn to that peace, drawn to that safe space. How many people are going to respect you just because of that alone. But that doesn't come from you not being healed. That doesn't come from you not understanding your self-evaluating your own triggers. That doesn't come from that. Know yourself. Love yourself. Grow. There go my washing machine going crazy again. Once again, I'm sorry if y'all hear that. I really am. But at the end of the day, to reparent yourself is to create that safe space for you to understand that you are validated in every way possible. You deserve love. You deserve care. You deserve unconditional love. You deserve to make mistakes. You are still going to be you, whether you are perfect or not, and we are still going to love you the same because we accept your flaws and all. Now, whether we love you from in person or from a distance, now that's the difference, okay? But in general. So this is only part 1 of reparenting, because I do have another one that I want to upload. This was going to be uploaded on a Monday. And consider this a bonus episode. So this is just part 1. So I'm going to leave this right here where it is. I'm also going to let you know that I love you guys. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or just want to talk, get something off your brain, just add me on Instagram at Jelly the Messenger. And my DM is always opened. I'm not going to sit here and judge you because we've all been through some stuff that we need to kind of figure out. We've all had a painful past, things that shouldn't have happened to us because we've interacted with people that did not know, didn't have the tools to heal, or, just didn't want to do good by us. But like I said, things happen to everybody. Your reaction is what differentiates you between everybody else. You being able to handle it a little bit differently is what differentiates you between everybody else. So if y'all in that victim mindset, I'm trying to get y'all out of that victim mindset and put y'all in the power of accountability. Put y'all in the power of self-discipline, self-validation, self-love. That's what we're operating on right here today. So once again, this is being released on Monday. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and let you guys know as soon as it pops up. Go ahead and give it a listen. As y'all already listened to it, obviously. But anywho, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this up. Once again, this is just part 1. We're going to be coming back. Not we. It's just me. I don't know why I said we. I'm going to be coming back with more content for y'all on this topic a little bit later, just to give more in depth on reparenting and how much it really does affect us in our daily lives here, because it does, whether you believe it or not, it really does. And don't forget to challenge yourself, be vulnerable, open yourself up, at least to yourself, and to love yourself enough to make mistakes and still know that you deserve to be loved. If not by you, then by me, until you can learn how to love yourself. And even then, I'm still going to love you then. So this has been great. Go out today, flourish, and do an act of kindness, whether it's to yourself or somebody else. But all right, you guys, I love you all. Bye.